Armand kind of plays a big role in your writing history. When did you first become aware of him as an author?
Um, I actually, well, I knew he was an author because I listened to Armand Toof,
Yeah.
so his podcast with Mark Tufo. Because again, I was studying self-published authors, and he's hybrid, but they would talk about self-publishing and stuff like that. So he was part of my daily um, learning in terms of how to become a self-published author. So, I listened, and he had mentioned a few times, he was from Jersey and blah 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 and all this kind of stuff. So, and the way he speaks, like he's just so down to earth and so like a normal guy, like a typical Jersey guy. So I was like, all right, he seems cool. I'm just gonna like reach out to him, whatever, and just say I like your stuff, and so I did that. Like I emailed him and said, hey, I'm from Jersey too, and I'm a wannabe author. I have one book, but blah 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 and all this stuff, and he actually responded and pretty quickly, and he was like so cool, and so we just started talking through email, and and we found that we had a lot of the same things. So like he lived in Keyport. I used to hang out in Keyport because I had gone to high school near there, and I grew up down in a town close to Keyport. So we had gone to a lot of the same places. We knew a lot of the same things. Found out that he was a metalhead like me, and he was going to Club Benet and the Fast Lane and the Stone Pony and places like that. And he was seeing metal bands like I was, and we were probably at the same shows because we were mentioning the same, So there were a lot of, I guess, parallels, and we just seemed to hit it off because we were both, typical Jersey guys. So on a lark, I just decided to. I think he was running a sale, or maybe it was Permafree or something like that. The Darley and Bobbage, um, the first book in Dying Days, and so because it was free, I was like, what the hell? And I got it and I read it, and I was like, wow, this is really cool, because it had his voice,
Yeah.
that like the same voice that he puts out on the airwaves through the podcast came through in the book, but yet it was still literature. It was still fiction. So I was
Right.
like, wow. I was like, this is incredible. And so then I got the next book, and then I picked up something else, and I read Keyport Cthulhu, and of course, I was smitten with that book. I was just like, because I was a fan of Lovecraft, and to have somebody do Lovecraft, but in Keyport, where I grew up, I was like, holy crap, this is like the best thing I've ever read. It's still like one of my favorite books, just because of that, all that stuff coming together. And so I just started hitting him up even more, and I was just like, I'm a big fan of yours. I really like this stuff. I was like, I'm trying not to stalk you, but now I'm like really into you. and and he played it cool and everything, but then he had a book signing in New Jersey, and it was his first. I guess it was Beers and Fears before it became Beers and Fears,
Right.
and he did a book signing in Belford, New Jersey, at Belford Brewing, and it was the first chance that I had to meet him in person, and it was like I was going on a date for the first time. So I showed up like 2 hours early. I was sitting in the parking lot in my car, like my palms were sweaty, and I was like, oh my god, like, and I saw him and Shelley arrive and bring all the books into the brewery, and I was just like, oh my god, there he is, and all this stuff. Like, it went from being like this casual guy that I had nothing to lose, and I just wanted to, just like say hey, and I never even thought anything would come of it. And then all of a sudden I was like a gushing fan, and I showed up and I met him and I met his mother and all his friends and stuff, and he was just so kind to me and gracious, and he actually spent a lot of time at the signing talking to me when he had all these people that he already knew, and it I was just like, wow, this guy is incredible. And Shelley was great, of course. I mean,
Right.
I was like, what else do you have? I ended up buying, I think, like 20 books from him that day. Um, And it was funny because he's like, well, I only have these 10 in here. And Shelly's like, well, there's more in the car. And I was like, yes, please. So, he always makes fun of me because I actually made Shelly go out to the truck and open the back. And we went through, and anything that he didn't have on the table inside, I bought a copy from the back of their truck. So I went home with a huge stack, and I was like, I love this guy. And I started reading everything. And then I followed him to Scares That Care because he kept talking about what a great convention it is, especially for aspiring horror authors to network and get to meet people and stuff. And I was like, oh, I got to go check this out. And so I went, and that's when I met you actually too,
Right.
And so many other people, and that was like the greatest weekend ever, and really started and reinforced a lot of this stuff. And you guys were so great to me. I mean, you guys put up with me basically following you around the whole weekend and allowing me to eat meals with you and everything. It was phenomenal. He knew my struggles of becoming a new author. He knew my goals and dreams, and he saw, I guess, a lot of the stuff that I was going through. He had already done and been through in his career. And so I made a comment at one point, like typical me, imposter syndrome. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I'm with you and Jay and all these people. Like, this is incredible. This is like, I'm pinching myself. I don't belong here and all this stuff. And I think I said that like 4 or 5 times on the weekend.
Yeah.
And, there's certain things that you don't do. And one thing is piss off Armand. And so I guess that got under his skin. So he's like, come with me for a second. And I knew that something was up because there was a certain look on his face and there was a certain demeanor in his posture. And I was like, I was a little nervous because I was like, all right, I'm not sure, but I think he's upset. And so I was like, here we go. I finally bit the hand that feeds me. So, I was hovering around the table too much and everything. And he pulled me out to one of the vestibules in the hotel. And, I won't curse here, but he basically dropped all these curses in my face. And he was like, you do belong here. Shut up. I don't want to hear this anymore. You're one of us. Act like it, or, don't come around me anymore. And then he was like, I have a proposition for you. And he's like, and you can't say no. And I because I'll break your legs. He's like, I want to do a new podcast about writing. And, where I help, he's like, I'm mentoring you now. He's like, but I'm going to mentor you on the air for other people. And, so I can help you through stuff and other people can learn from it as well. And I said, you know what? I like my legs where they are and bending in the right position. So I'm going to do this. And plus, I felt relief that he wasn't going to cut me loose
Yeah.
for stalking him. So he was still very interested in helping me and showing me the way. And I said, you know what? This is great. I'm in. Let's do this. And we started. So yeah, at first it was really about all the dumb things I was doing. And then he would be like, no, don't do that. That's dumb. And here's why, because I was dumb and I did it before. And it was great because I learned a ton and it helped me.